Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today, as you can see, we have this wonderful box and artwork. I shall be reviewing Guerlain's Shalimar Souffle de Parfum. Before we even get to open this gorgeous box, let's clear the air, no pun intended, on the word souffle. Now, a lot of people that have reviewed this fragrance or talk about it say, oh, it smells like a souffle. Well, if we do a quick Google search, and by all means, I am not a French-speaking or native French speaker, so I am rusty in certain terminologies and words and meanings, but souffle does have an accentement or a sort of accent on the last E going outwards, and there we could go into the cookery terminology of the word and taste and everything, you know, a souffle, an orange souffle. You could even do an onion souffle. You could do all sorts of food souffles. But this is souffle. Now, souffle, without the A at the end, means several things. It can mean breath, a breath of fresh air, a blast, wind. What other terminologies do they give us in the dictionary? We have to be out of breath. It could be in terms of breathing, in terms of a ventilation, a blast, in figurative speech, an inspiration, a creative inspiration, all the way up to divine inspiration. So we could say that Souffle de Parfum actually, from Guerlain's point of view, means this is a sort of a breath of the parfum, a wind, a whiff of parfum instead of souffle. So there's not so much gourmand going on here, but more freshness. How can something as Shalimar be fresh instead of it being a heavy vanilla, as we know from Shalimar? By the way, this is a gift box that I purchased, didn't receive it free. But anyway, it's 50 ml Shalimar Souffle de Parfum with a mascara. It was like super reduced. So the mascara shall be gifted to a person very dear to me, black mascara. I haven't opened it, so I don't know. It has to stay sealed and clean, but it is black because it says on the box. And here we got 50 ml of Shalimar Souffle de Parfum. Oh, funny word. Funny, especially if you're, not really familiar with the language, as am I. As I am not. Let's spray it on. This is the bottle, reminiscent of the actual Shalimar Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum bottles available today. Different color. This one has a gradient blue going into a very, very light blue. 2 sprays is enough. It's a very, very giving sprayer. Okay. Ooh. It does give you a whiff of fresh air, in fact, in a very strange way, because it is a Guerlain, it is a Shalimar, so it's kind of bizarre, because we're used to it. Let me put here, I have the refill bottle of the Eau de Parfum. And by the way, in the cart section up there, you could check out my review of the Eau de Parfum of Shalimar. As I said, this is a refill that goes into a metal container, which I still haven't hunted down, unfortunately. This one is very heavy on the vanilla and very dusty. Not fresh in any part of its lifespan on the skin. This one does have a whiff, a breath of parfum air. And it was developed or released in 2014. So it's 5 years old now. The perfumer behind this one is Thierry Vassa. We know Thierry from other fragrances as well. And available 30, 50, 100 ml. So what we have in the top notes, which gives it that whiff of fresh air, is the mandarin orange, lemon, and bergamot. Then we go into the mid notes with orange blossom and jasmine sambac, also very fresh. Jasmine can be cloying at times too, but in this case, it's very delicate. Then we got the base notes, Tahitian vanilla, Indian vanilla, and white musk. There's more in here than listed. However, you can imagine more or less the direction we're going to. It's as if they stripped, and I took the eau de parfum of Shalimar to compare, because this one is an eau de parfum as well. It's really tiny in the back, but on the sticker, let's see if we can see it. There, eau de parfum concentration, made in France. So they're both eau de parfums. And while this one immediately, let me smell it again. 1925, year of release. So this one has a heft to it. It delivers a punch that even today, after all the reformulations, still delivers a punch. The particular Guerlain quality vanilla in here is just insane. Here everything is toned down. Everything is watered down. Everything has become a whiff of a memory of Shalimar. So Shalimar kind of fades into the background. Let's take it away. But don't be fooled by the fact that I'm using adjectives as, watered down or lower, lesser, blah, blah, blah. It has a very interesting character. It's definitely, smelling again, in a league of its own. Quite frankly, we do recognize it as a Guerlain, but did it have to be a flanker of Shalimar? I'm not so sure. I have tried this one before already. That's why I'm already way ahead of the smell. As I'm talking to you, it is developing, and we're going to get to the dry down, but I've already experienced the dry down several times on my skin. So kind of in this case, we're not discovering it together, but I already know the fragrance. And it does, to me, warrant its own release. You could say it's Shalimar, but just because of, at the end of the day, a sort of overdose of vanilla in there. But the citrusy aspect to it, the sparkling aspect to it, gives it its own. It legitimizes it as its own fragrance without it having to be a flanker. So perhaps rather than calling it a flanker, we could say it's maybe a totally different concentration of Shalimar. I don't know. But what brings to mind, a lot of people say, and I think erroneously, because they think that the name of this one or the subtitle is Souffle rather than Souffle. And I still apologize for butchering those words, but you catch my drift. I think because a lot of people do think that it's called souffle, they automatically fall into that association trap. And so by association, you visualize a souffle, and in a way sweet, because there's a lot of vanilla in here. And so you think, oh, it's like a pie. But the intention, of course, in a lot of fragrances, and for example, Gaultier is master at that, playing with words. La Fleur du Mal, his white fragrance, which is unfortunately discontinued. There's a game in poetry. There's a bit of Baudelaire in there. There's also mal because it's male fragrance, and mal also meaning evil, but in this case it was meant to be male. So this could be meant as souffle, but also could be a word game to mean souffle. However, as gourmand as a lot of people do describe this one to be, I will distance myself from that. To me, it's not so much a gourmand. Now, it's too bergamoty, citrusy, and jasmine-y-ish for me to associate it with food, to be honest with you. It's just, I had my portion of lemon pies. I've also had my portion of apple pies, of limoncellos, of, I've lemon in all sorts of ways, shapes, and forms. I've had it in sweet dishes and salty dishes and alcohol and drinks and non-alcoholic drinks. So lemon has been in my life a lot, right? So if we're gonna, but there's a way that lemon can be have an edible quality, but then there's also a lemon that could be more of a scent rather than something edible. Of course, vanilla always reminds us of something that we have smelled in a bakery or patisserie in some way, shape, or form. But here, I wouldn't sell this one so short. It's really, really delicious. Not in an edible way, but in a very sophisticated way. And not many fragrances manage to run that line between being elegant, and with elegance we kind of perceive a certain type of quality, dryness, an aesthetic that's slightly detached, an austere reverence, a presence of sorts that seems effortless, but you can see that it's curated. And then you have, on the other side of the spectrum, well, there's a lot of different sides to this, but there's a lot of opposite options to oppose that elegance. But one of them is a cloying, sweet, slight tacky, too much makeup on the face, or the lipstick that doesn't really match the nail polish, or people that wear logos from head to toe, very visible, clashing with each other. I mean, there's tacky, there's kitsch, there's a lot of opposites to that simplicity of elegance. This one runs that line between that potential sweetness that could be given by the vanilla and a bitey, citrusy freshness of the bergamot and of the mandarin and the citrus in the opening notes. And the bond between the two is, to me, the jasmine. And in particular, in this case, it's the sambac jasmine, which is considered to be one of the most prestigious of jasmines, right? And so as we smell it, it constantly bounces off the two sides. And that's why it's so alluring and attractive to me, because listen, let's be very clear about this. I'm not the type of person who claims to be this elegant, austere, blah, 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 bitch. I love tacky, I love kitsch, I love slapstick. I'm a big fan of John Waters, a big fan of Pedro Almodovar. I also love a clash of things. I like to mix things. And so I understand both sides. There are days when I really just want to leave the house and looking like an explosion of colors, of styles, eclectic as much as possible. And then there are those days when I'm literally from head to toe dressed in black, super simple, almost invisible. And then there are those days when it's all about the gray hues. And in particular, I've chosen this background. Now, this is a Dolce & Gabbana jacket from a couple of years ago in a very particular cotton mixed with linen, blue and gray hues. But on purpose, I decided to show the back where the stitching is going right here. This is the back of the jacket. It's a tailored jacket, but beautifully matching, because the shoulders are wider as it goes down, so the stripes get tighter together. But you see that line, that's the border. It's like between two sides. Now, in this case, it's the same jacket on both sides, but there's a cut, and the cut is visible. It's not hidden, and we notice it. And that's why this one is right there in the middle, because I noticed that split. It has like a cut in itself. That freshness from the top all of a sudden is cut by that jasmine, and we enter this land of Guerlain vanillas, but they are so delicately placed there. They could go really tacky and kitsch, but they are dosed in a way that they stay elegant, which is very, very difficult to do, in particular with vanilla. And I am not a fan of vanilla, and you guys know, who knows and watches my channel knows, I've explained it in particular when it comes to Hypnotic Poison, Dior's Hypnotic Poison, and the vanilla used in there in combination with almonds. But you could check out in the cart section up there my review of Hypnotic Poison Eau de Toilette to know more about that. But Guerlain does manage, actually, to rein me back into the love of vanilla, and only Guerlain can really do it. Now, Demachy for Dior also has a particular game he plays when it comes to his vanillas, which I have to say are not that bad, but nobody tops Guerlain when it comes to vanilla. Nobody, really. And I also don't think that other perfume houses have access to certain raw materials in certain qualities. It's just really hard. Now, I know that most of whatever's in here is synthetic, so I'm not even going to go there. But still, in a synthetic age, like the age we live in now, you can make something synthetically in a really good way, in an okay way, in an okay-ish way, in a bad way, in a tragically bad way, in a monstrous and preposterous way. So there's levels of syntheticity. No, that's not, how do you call syntheticity? Oh my God, that's syntheticity, I think would be the correct way to pronounce it. That's a difficult one. That's a tongue twister for you. And Guerlain plays it masterfully. They really convey something beautiful here. So this whiff of parfum, even despite it being a shade or a shadow of the eau de parfum, they're both running a thin line. Actually, this one not really being in the middle. This one is more on the kind of the tacky side of intensity. Still loving it to pieces, but you know what I mean. It runs that thin line, and it's gorgeous that way because, here I'm getting to the point, there are those days when I want to, when I'm confused. I don't know if you ever have those days. I sometimes wake up in the morning, and usually I know exactly what fragrance I'm grabbing, I'm veering towards. My mood is quite clear to me, and I know what perfume I want to start the day with. Throughout the day I change. I use several perfumes, but there's always a beginning to the story. You know, every day I wake up and I'm writing a book. That's kind of how I live my life. But there are many days when I wake up and I'm very confused, and I do not know exactly, you know, because I have a memory of each one of my fragrances. I know how they smell. So even without having to smell, you know what I mean? Like, do you have that as well? Like, I know already how it smells. So I have a memory, even though I'm not smelling it out of the bottle, I have the memory of the smell, which is a very fascinating thing. Actually, we should talk about this more, maybe in another video, but like the strength of a memory of a smell without actually smelling it. So usually I go through my memory archive in my head, and I see my fragrances, or I visualize them, and then I just go like, yeah, that one smells like that. That one smells like, no, I don't feel like, I'm not in the mood for that smell. And there's not many fragrances that really go well with that, not really knowing in what mood I'm in. But this one is exactly that type of fragrance. You see, that's why I love this one so much, because it's okay. You know, for me, it's safe for me. But when I say safe, I also mean it's safe to wear because it's not an offensive fragrance. It's not too overpowering. It's not going to offend anybody. Everybody's going to actually compliment you because it's an easy fragrance. But I also mean it's safe for your mood, because no matter how your mood will become in that day, whatever the outcome may be after you've had breakfast, you know, because the mood, even though you wake up in the morning and sometimes you're all fuzzy and you don't know, you're confused, give it a couple of hours, you're going to fine tune it. The mood will kind of tip over to one or the other side sooner or later throughout the day. And this one is a wonderful companion that follows you and kind of just sticks with you in a good way, in a delicate way, without pushing you too much in either direction. And it lets you choose. It lets you really choose which way you want to flow, or if you want to stay in between. That's so beautiful. I find that extremely poetic when it comes to fragrances, because not many really allow you both sides, you know, of the token, of the metal. And Souffle de Parfum really does. Let's smell it again. What I find also very attractive is layering clothes with it. So not so much in the heat when it's just the naked skin and perfume, and you're basically, the fragrance is on your skin and there's no cloth covering it, and it's just your nose smelling it off your skin. I really like this one on the chest, and then, or also on the arms, but then you have sleeves on, and then the sleeves and your t-shirt or shirt, whatever that's on, you know, touching your chest, they kind of absorb some of the smell. And the way the cloth absorbs it, whatever fabric you have on, together with the way it reacts to your skin and your own hormonal balance, you get the souffle you get the whiffs of that smell combined with the fabric that you're wearing. I find that extremely stimulating and very attractive, more so than just on the skin, because on the skin it tends to be a little bit acidic, and not so at all when you're wearing more clothes. And it's very comforting. it doesn't push you. You know, sometimes as much as I, you know, the love of my life, which is number 5, here's one of my testers. They do come with these funny stoppers, but this is a Pure Parfum tester of 35 milliliters. So I get them as big as I can because I use them a lot. By the way, check out in the cart section up there, the review of Chanel number 5, if you haven't already. This is the love of my life, but this one doesn't really let you just float around indecisive. No. There are days when this one is a killer in the opening. No, like for the first 3 hours, I'm like, oh gosh, this is too intense even for me. I'm probably really annoying people around me. And but of course, when the dry down kicks in, the Pure Parfum is just there. Nothing tops Chanel number 5. Nothing. Sorry, Guerlain, but that's just the way it is for me, for my nose. But this one doesn't do that. It allows you. It allows you to be indecisive. It allows you to be softer to yourself, you know. It doesn't push you. And that is very comforting. It's very soothing. I think this is also a wonderful fragrance in case you have really issues with anxiety. But before I say something too stupid, because of course I am not a professional in the field, so I cannot say things like this, but definitely figure out first if citrusy notes trigger you, because those can be, because there's an acidity to them. So if that's not something that you are uncomfortable with, that could be the only element in here that could trigger people maybe. If that's not a trigger to you, then this one will be very comforting because it's a soothing vanilla. You get, literally, it's meant to be a souffle. It's meant to be just wafts of, kind of whiffs of delicate warmth. It keeps caressing you. It very delicately keeps caressing you throughout the day. And that's amazing. And that's worth everything to me in a fragrance, you know? So it's really, I'm really happy that something like this exists. I do hope that they do not discontinue it. If they do, shame on you, Guerlain. But, you know, Guerlain makes so many fragrances. They discontinue a lot of them and they reformulate a lot of them as well. So you never know what might happen. But as of now, it's still available. There is also an intense version, like Souffle de Parfum Intense or something like that, darker bottle. I haven't tried that one out. This is the first one released. It's the kind of lighter blue, fading to almost transparent. But yeah, it doesn't have any intense description on it. It just says Souffle de Parfum. So this is the one I recommend. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this review. Projection longevity, modest. This one can go up to 6 hours on me, maybe, but modest. It stays close to the skin and it's comforting to you, you know, inoffensive to others. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, thumb it up and let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. Also, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, superdacob all spelled together. I'm also on Patreon, also superdacob all spelled together. And I would like to thank all my patrons for pledging. You get to see videos that are exclusive to Patreon on my Patreon channel, as well as previews of what's going to come to YouTube before it hits YouTube, all ad-free. Also, check out my Ask Dacob series where you get to call in live and talk to me about all sorts of issues and topics like fashion-related or just life-related in general. Until my next video, I would like to say see you soon and never give up on love. Love y'all. See you soon. Take care. Bye.